Hello, my dear friends. This is Khobi, registered psychologist at My Psyche Counseling Services and also yoga instructor. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I post on Mondays on mind, body, and spirit, and we certainly go beyond psychology. One of our friends on Facebook asked me a question in regards to individuals who tend to perceive themselves as completely innocent, and they tend to blame others for their problems. And at the same time, these individuals seem to be taking advantage of you when you're nice to them and you're kind of helping them in some ways, but they go behind your back and they say bad things about you. So the question is, do they have multiple personality disorder? Is it because of too much confidence to the point of being arrogant and selfish? Or is this another type of disorder that requires some psychological treatment? I will definitely answer those questions, but before that, let me first acknowledge that what I'm going to talk about, it is mostly based on context. In other words, it depends to the situation that the person would be showing this kind of behavior or this kind of personality side. It depends to that situation. It does not mean it's quite generalized to all individuals. In other words, if somebody blames other for a problem, it doesn't mean that the person is not being hurt. In some situation, for example, I can share with you supermodel Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell's problem. You must be familiar with those famous people that they have had. It was based on the hurt that was caused when Tyra was around 17 and she went to Paris for modeling, and then Naomi was quite mean and to almost quite ruthless towards her, and she tried to kind of sabotage her career and all of this. And then many years or maybe decades later, Tyra actually confronts her in the show and says that how your behavior affected me. And then Naomi was sometimes kind of owning, but sometimes kind of talking about not remembering things. So I'm using this as an example that yes, there are genuine cases that people do hurt us, that there is an element of unfairness, injustice, and sometimes even tragedy that can happen as a result of some other people's action. So I'm not dismissing those kind of stories when that happens to people. However, in the context of this question that this friend is asking, so I'm going to talk about only this specifically. So I talked about a little bit in the post I replied to you a little bit that there is something in psychology we call it projection. So projection is that the bad in me, I kind of project it on you. If I am someone who is unconscious of my anger and aggression towards people, then I would be projecting that towards you, and I would think that okay, you're someone who is always angry and aggressive towards other people. In fact, I see multiple people in my environment to have had that kind of characteristics, when in reality that kind of problem actually exists in me. So I think we can even borrow some knowledge from psychoanalytical theories that there is something called shadow, basically a dark side of your personality that you're not fully aware because it's part of your unconscious mind. You don't have access to it. However, do they show up in your mind once in a while? Of course they do. They show up in form of dreams. They can show up, I don't know, sometimes it can be a Freudian slip or something that kind of is kind of coming out of your mouth suddenly, and you kind of notice that about yourself. And the other way is, again, projection, when you're projecting your own dark side onto somebody else. What is that, shadow side? There can be hatred there can be anger there can be prejudices there. So all of the dark stuff that we usually don't want to own them, and we dismiss them and we don't like them, we actually project them on other people, that these individuals have this kind of problem. Again, in fact, that is within you. The problem about this kind of projections are when it's done towards groups. So when we have prejudices towards group, even though what we're dealing with is within ourselves. So that is problematic. Now let's go back to the question, can this person have a multiple personality disorder when they are nice in front of you and you've been kind to them and you've been helpful to them, but then they tend to blame you for all the problems, and then they go behind your back and they do a lot of bad mouthing you and all of that. that. So what is your problem? So I don't think that this individual would be having multiple personality disorder. That is a whole another term that we have. In fact, it's kind of renamed in our DSM-5. So I don't think that if you're referring to the actual technical term, then I don't think this person has multiple personality. However, is this a disorder? That's kind of questionable. It's a kind of gray area, but is that a problem? You bet it is a problem. If they're projecting their own negative side on you and individual around them, it is a problem, because this creates a lot of toxicity in relationships, and I'm sure you're probably one of them who's suffering and struggling with this problem. The next part of your question is, can these individuals be treated in psychotherapy? And the answer is yes, because again, we as psychologists are trained to walk them through towards that shadow side, to explore the unconscious, and to bring that projection to the conscious mind, so that the person is aware that the evil that we see in others actually lies more within us. So yes, it can be worked on in psychology. However, here is some disappointing news about this, that many people who are struggling with something that they're unconscious of, then they're less likely to go and seek help. In other words, if this projection is onto somebody else, when I think that the evil is in you, that you're someone full of hatred, that you are someone who's aggressive, and you're this and that, in that situation, it is more likely for me to think that the problem exists in you and not in me. So how am I going to actually go and seek help for that? So it's less likely that they would go and seek help. However, family members, loved ones, they tend to kind of encourage, and in some cases even kind of give ultimatum for these individuals to go and seek therapy, so they can go and benefit from therapy once everybody around them encourage them. So yeah, that is pretty much it for what I wanted to talk about. That yes, probably the case of projection and the side of shadow might be a situation that would be happening to this person that you shared with me in the post on Facebook. But I also want to kind of briefly mention that the shadow side does not only contain the darker side of our personality or our negative side, but it can also contain some of creative things that we have. So this is why I don't want this video to be kind of making you feel more alarmed and too cautious towards other people, that their shadow side will get me or affect me. But you don't have to worry about that, because again, we do have it, we all have it to a certain degree. It's more problematic when it's to the extent that it affects our interpersonal relationship. So I hope this video helps. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please write in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day and stay safe.